reason I'm here now is to speak for the other 99% of this country that has been denied a seat at the negotiating table in this political system. We say fight back!
I was a waiter for a little while, and now I'm here. I quit my job to come here.
This is about sustaining the working class in America. So why are you not out here fighting for this? You know.
3 years after the biggest banking crisis in memory, you had a group of people who felt that they'd been left behind by a system that skewed towards either the fabulously wealthy or people who have a lot of power and influence.
The bankers made big mistakes and screwed everybody, and now they want our money to bail them out.
They're not content with having control of all the wealth that they have. They also have taken control of our very government.
I think this anger has been growing because for the majority of people who lost a lot during the 2008 crisis, things really haven't changed that much.
We can change this unjust system together!
So they took to the streets and said, well, we're going to have a physical voice since we don't have a voice in terms of money.
Kill the bill! Kill the bill! Kill the bill!
In Wisconsin in particular, you had Governor Scott Walker, who said that he was going to balance the budget and that he was going to take on unions. And he went and took the very powerful step of trying to break up the public sector unions, and that didn't sit well with a lot of people in Wisconsin. I believe the statehouse was open for visitors, if not 24 hours a day, then most of the day. And so they said, well, we're going to take advantage of that rule, that this is our statehouse, and we're going to come and we're going to make our presence known. Occupy Wall Street was always focused on this idea that the wealth disparity causes also a power disparity, and that the mass, the 99% of people, really didn't have that much of an influence.
What I would like to see is, instead of just a two-party system, you know, we could see a system that represents the people fairly, so that if 10%, you know, or 20% have a different view from the Republicans and the Democrats, that view is shown equally in the American system.
This is what democracy looks like!
Zuccotti Park itself was kind of a happy accident. It's a privately owned space that was donated to the city for public use. And because of that, it's open 24 hours a day. So logistically, this made perfect sense, but then it became a symbol of the movement because it was so close to Wall Street. They were there where the conversation was going on.
We're at a point where we're ready to start a national dialogue. And we want the top 1% to come here and talk with us. We want to move the country forward.
Throughout the country and then throughout the world, you saw movements springing up or movements coalescing around an idea of occupying Wall Street, even though they may have been hundreds and thousands of miles away from physical Wall Street itself.
We are taking back the nation! We are taking back the nation!
Someday I want to have kids, and I want them to be raised up in a world where there are possibilities for having health care, for having good education, for having, you know, meaningful employment, for having homes, things that matter to just basic human needs. Those possibilities are not being shrunken and destroyed by, you know, the larger sort of, you know, 1% forces, you know.
What you saw in Oakland was just much more of a clash. You saw policemen firing tear gas canisters into crowds of people and flashbang grenades to break up crowds.
I don't worry that the police brutality that we've endured is going to stop it, that the lack of media presence is going to stop it. It's only the people, and if the more numbers we have and the more engagement we have, the more it will build and grow.
The hospitalization of the Marine veteran in Oakland galvanized occupation movements across the U.S., and people saw him as a rallying cry. So you've had a set of symbols that one by one have inspired people, and that's part of what sort of drove the idea around the country.